If you had the ability to go back into time and tell the younger version of yourself, don't do it, sister. Don't marry that man. Don't partner with that person. Don't sign up for that program. Don't do it. You know, you probably do have one of those moments in your life. I do too, because now we're wiser. Hindsight is 2020, as they could say. But what if I could tell you that you could actually use those moments in your life for a launching pad in your ministry? And we're talking about that today in this episode of the Sister Start Your Ministry Hour. Welcome, sis. I'm Reverend Jocelyn, and I'm your host and the coach of the Sister Start Your Ministry Hour, dedicated to helping women of God just like you to answer your call to build a ministry or transformative kingdom business. Now, if you're a woman of faith, if you're a woman who knows that you want to do more to glorify God, to impact more people, this is your weekly gathering. I want you to consider this the huddle, where sisters from across the country gather together to grow in their faith and to get strategies, whether it's faith-based strategies in the word, where we're like undergirding in our faith, or just things that we can do to implement in our business to make a bigger impact. We gather here every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time for our weekly huddle. And if you're a first timer, welcome, sis. I am glad that you are here. And we want to invite you to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, I love blessing first timers with a gift. So if you haven't already, go ahead and visit sisterstartyourministry.com. There, you can actually download a ministry launch starter kit that's going to show you how to organize your ministry or kingdom business, put together a plan so you can get your message out there, get some structure in place so you can make the impact that God has put on your heart. So that's my gift for you for being here today, and I'm excited to have you. Also, our sisters who are regulars, they know what to do. We do roll call every Sunday in the comments, where you put your name and what city you're representing in the chat. Be sure to add your name, even if you are watching the replay. I check every comment. I reply personally. And I love to know who's here, because I want to be able to connect with you and support you on your journey. Now, today, I'm actually going to be live with you in the comments. So look for me engaging with you there. Now, let's talk about this subject here, because when I think about my life, there have been moments where there were some mistakes homegirl made. And I know that's you as well. But in those moments, I have made it through those challenges. And sometimes those weren't even mistakes that were the most challenging parts of my life. So sometimes life be lifing, unexpected health crisis, somebody in your family acting a fool. There's just different things that are taking place. And when you think about those moments that were just most difficult for you in your life, here's the gem. You are actually best equipped to help the person you once were to get through those same challenges that you have now overcome. When you have that perspective of looking back over your life and thinking about the time in which you were like, man, I'm in the pit here, or I don't know how I'm going to get through this financial struggle, or you've dealt with health challenges, family crisis, loss, some things that you thought were going to crush you, then in those moments, now that you're on the other side, there are other people who are dealing with something similar, who are feeling completely lost. And you can actually be the one to help them through that. I think about when I was going to the airport in Chicago. There's an airport called Midway Airport, and I'm driving and I'm talking on the phone with my girlfriend, and I'm not, really paying full attention to the road ahead. I mean, you know how when you're on the phone, sometimes you're driving on autopilot. Maybe that's just me, but I'm just driving. I'm getting close to the airport, and I wasn't paying attention to why the car in front of me quickly swerved. And so I'm continuing to drive, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just hit this pothole. I know my tire flat. I know it is, because in Chicago, we got like a pothole epidemic. It's out of control. And so I continue driving. Thank God my tire was not completely busted and I caught my flight. But if I had paid attention to the person in front of me to say, hey, swerve around this hole, it would have saved me some stress. It would have saved me some bumps in the road. And I think this is the thing that many of us don't recognize. There's some potholes that we can help other people to avoid if we take the time to reflect on the lessons we've learned and then share it to the younger generation, so that when they do come across things that can literally take them out off the road, we can say, this is how you swerve around this. This is how you avoid this. This is something that you don't have to do. And that's the thing, because there are moments in our life where we take a blow, we take a punch, we take a hit, we fall flat on our face, whether it's a mistake we made or something that's happening in our life. Life gets hard sometimes. But in those moments, particularly when we make a mistake, those things where we feel actually like ashamed about it, and we start shoulding on ourselves, when we say, oh, I shouldn't have done that, oh, I shouldn't have done this, oh, blah, blah. Stop shoulding on yourself, sister. It's not good. But in those moments, here's the beauty. If we are able to learn from those things that take place in our life, and we take the lesson from it, then we're not losing. It's the saying, you only lose if you lose the lesson. So don't lose the lesson, sis, because here's the beauty. I'm telling you, you come out of that situation a different person if you take the time to reflect, and you're going to grow from that situation if you didn't lose the lesson. All right. So put that in the comments. If you only lose if you lose the lesson. All right. And so as I was thinking about the message for today, one song came to mind, and it's a song called Dear Younger Me. Oh, Dear Younger Me. I love this song. I think it's by Mercy Me. I'm going to have to look up. I'll put in the comments who made the song. But it's called Dear Younger Me. And it's a song where the artist is literally writing a letter, if you will, to the younger version of themselves. And they're saying, Dear Younger Me, where do I start? In terms of the lessons like that made me and defined me. Would I change those lessons even though they were hard? Would I have done something different even though those are the lessons that helped define me in my ministry? It's so deep. Look up the song. Again, I'll put a link in the comments with you. But in that song, it blessed me. Because I think about that. I think sometimes in our lives, there's parts of our journey that we're just like, man, I really went down some type of roller coaster ride on that one. And yeah, I could have really avoided that if I was paying attention to them signs. And we look at it from a place of judgment, but then we also look at it from a standpoint, if we're kind to ourselves, instead of judging ourselves and say, but if I didn't go through that craziness, if I didn't go through that divorce, if I didn't go through whatever drama that I went through, then I wouldn't have, had this wisdom. I wouldn't have birthed this ministry. I wouldn't have been in position to help this person. I wouldn't be here or whatever. So two things can be true. Yes, the whole situation sucked. Sometimes it was traumatic. It could be something that, no, we're not happy per se that an evil took place. That's true. It sucked over here. Also, one of the things that we can recognize is redeemable. And honestly, like now that we went through it, we recognize we would not be the same person that we are today if we had not overcome that challenge. And now we are, going back to what I said earlier, more equipped to help someone else who's going through that situation. So it's not wasted. Now, for this episode today, I'm bringing up the song Dear Younger Me because it inspired an activity that I would like to lead us through. If you have a pen and a pad, I want you to grab it. And if some of you, because I know some of you do, if some of you have our ministry journal, we have a beautiful ministry journal, get your ministry journal out. And this is one in which you can take notes through this activity that I'm about to guide you through, because I'm going to ask you a series of questions to guide you through the process of talking to the younger version of you and looking at how we can pull out the lessons from the younger version of you to be able to build something great from it. Are you all game for this activity that we're about to do? Okay, I hope you are. I hope you are. If you're with me, put that in the comments. I'm with you. I'm with you. Let's go through some exercise. Get your pen, get your pad. I'm stalling a little bit for some of you all, so you have time to get a pen and pad because I really want you to do this activity. Okay. Now, before I lead you through these reflection questions, there are some ground rules that I would like to set, some community rules, because I'm going to ask you some questions to ask you to reflect. These are deeper questions. But as we reflect, a promise I want you to make to yourself is that we're going to reflect without judgment. This is a no judgment zone, like Planet Fitness. We're not judging here. It's one of those things where whatever took place, we're looking at it from a place of compassion. When we look back at our younger version of ourselves, I want us to look back with love and tenderness around, who we are and what we went through. Because here's the thing, particularly if it was a situation where you might have made a mistake. When you were younger, at that time, you did the best you could with the tools you have. You don't have the years of wisdom that you now have. You didn't have it back then. You have it now because, again, hindsight is 2020. But when you were younger, you didn't have that. So we're not judging ourselves. We're not even going to judge ourselves from last year because you've grown since then. Now you know better. We do better. So no judgment. You understand that? Okay. Rule number 2, share only what feels safe to share in this space. I'm going to invite you to share in the comments because I do so because I want us to not feel alone as we are going through this journey. And it just helps us to connect and bond, but only share what you feel comfortable sharing. Next, rule number 3, give yourself permission to pause. And if you want to watch this replay later, obviously many of you are watching this live, but if you want to watch the replay later and literally pause the recording and sit with some of these questions that I'm asking, do so. These are deeper questions, and that actually is a means to an end. I'm going to tell you why I'm asking these questions at the very end, because there's a culmination here, but I don't want you to just skate through these questions. All right. So we got the ground rules, sisters. No judgment. Share what only feels safe to share. Okay. And give yourself permission to pause. All right. Are you ready to get into the reflection for today? All right. Put yes if you are in the comments. All right. Even if you're watching the replay, let's talk back to me. All right. All right, sister. So question number 1 that I want to guide you through. If we're talking to the younger version of you, I want you to think of a season in your life that was extremely challenging. Now that you're on the other side, how has that experience made you stronger or wiser? I'm going to pause for a second because I want you to think about that. Think of a season in your life that was extremely challenging. Now that you're on the other side, how has that experience made you stronger or wiser? You can write some of the initial thoughts in the journal. You can also share key points in the comments. I think about that song by Marvin Sapp. He says, I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better, much better. Y'all know the song. We know that there's certain things in our life that honestly, if we hadn't gone through it, we wouldn't be as strong and wise as we are today. Thank God for the growth. Thank God for what He's shown us. Think about that. What is the season that has strengthened you, that you have survived? And again, feel free to put your thoughts as well in the comments. One scripture that speaks to this is 1 Peter 5:10. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will Himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. Ooh. Mm-mm. That's what he's done for many of you, you know, because you've been through it. And he's put your feet on solid ground. When you thought you were sinking in the quicksand, he's restored you. He's made you stronger, firm, and steadfast. What is that experience? All right. So we got that experience in our mind. Next, the next question is, now looking back, what can you see now that you couldn't see then? You know, sometimes when you're in it, you can't see. You can't see light. You can't see certain signs. You can't see how God is moving. Okay. So I want you in this part of the activity and reflection to literally take yourself back then. Like if you can, because for some of you, it might be 20, 30 years removed. But I want you to imagine yourself literally sitting next to the younger version of you. Like there's you 20 years ago, and you're coming into the living room or the hall or the church or wherever you were, and you're sitting right next to her, the younger version of you. And you just put your arm around her, and you just say, "Hey, sis, what advice or truth would have been helpful for you to share to her during that season? What did she need to hear?" Think back just a moment. I'm going to pause, give you a couple seconds to think about that because I want you to feel and sit with this question. Now, as I proceed, remember, you can also pause this recording and continue to put in the comments too as some things come to mind. But I'm going to move us to the next question. Okay. Question number 3. What was the younger version of you struggling to believe about herself, God, and her future? This hits home because I think sometimes when I look at certain decisions that I've made that weren't the best decisions, it was decisions I made because I was struggling with my identity in Christ. I was struggling to accept God's forgiveness because some of the pain I was experiencing was due to sin and poor decisions that I made. And so I had this belief that God was a God who was condemning. And, I was having such a difficult time accepting God's love and forgiveness. And I felt like in certain cases, it was like a scarlet letter that I had on me, that scarlet letter, that mark, and struggling with my identity, believing God was angry with me, and thinking like, man, is my life going to always feel like this? Struggling to see a future beyond my pain. That was me. So if I could go back and talk to the younger version of Jocelyn, I would say, Jocelyn, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are the apple of God's eye. God chose you and appointed you. God loves you. Although you made a mistake, He loved you so much that He sent His one unbegotten Son to die for you on the cross. And you have a beautiful future ahead of you. That's what I would tell her. What would you tell the younger version of you who is struggling to believe certain things about herself that is true? Sit with that for a second. Question number 4. What did God teach you through that season that has permanently changed the way you live, lead, or love today? There's certain things that has happened in our life. It changed us. Even traumatic events, one thing that I've learned is that trauma does change us. Just like a clothing hanger, the hangers that you get from the cleaners, it's like wired hangers. If I were to try to bend the hanger and then try to put it right back to the way it was, that hanger would not go right back into its original form. I couldn't get it exactly right. However, even though I can't get it exactly into that same position, it's one of those things where I still, moving beyond just a hanger, you still have the ability to change in a good way if you heal from those events. If you do the work around your healing, it's one of those things where you get to the point where you can actually stand on your story and use it as fuel and have the wisdom to help others. What I'm describing is post-traumatic growth. In those moments, yes, it was terrible what you went through, but you've grown and you're stronger. It's changed how you look at things. It changes how you lead. You're more compassionate. You have a certain perspective that offers value. So what is it? What did God teach you through the health crisis, through the loss, through the trauma, through the drama, through that difficult season that permanently has changed the way you live, lead, or love today? All right. Question number 5. This is where it gets good. Who is walking through a similar season right now? And how could your story become a source of hope and healing or wisdom for them? So now, the time machine, we've fast forwarded. We're in whatever today's date is. And now I want you to think about the sisters who you encountered. And they might be in a similar situation, going through something that you've survived. How could your story become a source of hope to let them know, sis, I know it's hard right now, but you're going to make it. A source of healing, a source of wisdom for them. Think about that. When we look at Luke 22:32, Jesus tells Peter, and when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. I'm telling you, sister, when you turn back and you look over your life, you do so you can strengthen your sisters. You can strengthen those who are coming behind you and let them know, hey, you're not by yourself. There's hope. You're going to make it. And when you answer those questions 1 through 5 that I just shared today, I want you to think about this, because this is how we're going to tie this all together in a big bow. Could your answers to these questions be the foundation of a book, a signature talk, a podcast, a workshop, a ministry, a business that helps the next generation? See, I must remind you, sister, that in God's economy, nothing is wasted. With a capital N, nothing is wasted. How can God use what you've gone through, the lessons that you've learned, to help the younger version of you to be able to stand on the shoulders of the lessons that you've paid for so that they can grow, they can make it. It could be a lifeline to them. That's what I want you to think about. What are you going to do with the answers to this activity? And please share. Please put in the comments. What are you doing with this? For some of you, you already have. For some of you, you've been a little hesitant. And I'm talking to you. If you've been hesitant, you didn't survive that just for yourself. So what are we going to do? How are we going to share the lessons? Because we know even in the muck, even in the crap that we've gone through, Romans 8:28 reminds us, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. All things. So this is something where your recovery, sis, is not about you. You standing strong now is not just about you. Look at who can be restored, strengthened, matured as a result of you sharing your story and sharing the wisdom that you've learned to help the next generation. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. What has stood out to you the most from this exercise? And what do you intend on doing now that you reflected and had this conversation with the younger version of yourself? Please share in the comments. And if you want to invite another sister to go through this activity, first share with them, just hit the share button on YouTube because I want to invite other sisters to be a part of our community. And be sure to like this episode so YouTube knows to share it out with the other people, okay? Also, my replay people, don't you forget to comment because I am looking for your comments so I can connect with you. And lastly, if you're like, yes, like I want to share my message, I want to share my story, I want to do something with the lessons that I've learned, but I don't know what to do, but I'm ready. Like, put me in the game, coach, right? That's you. Then I want to invite you to book a resource connection call. This is a call where you sit down with my team and we ask you questions to learn about what you're hoping to accomplish, the challenges that might have gotten in your way thus far, and how we can connect you with the support you need to take your next step with that nonprofit, the book, the program, whatever that thing is. If you haven't already, book this free call so that we can connect you with the resources that you have been looking for. Once again, sisters, I am grateful for you hanging out with me week after week. I hope you were encouraged by today. And if you were, please let me know and set your time for next week. Same time, same channel. Set your clock, that is, for 6:30 p.m. Central Time on YouTube on Sunday nights. Let me get it together. On Sunday nights where we hang out and really work to build our ministry. All right, sisters, thank you so much for being here with me today. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.